effort on the glass and called for a referendum on the art of the box out. Take a listen.
You know, what killed us was the rebounding. We obviously we have a size disadvantage, but that doesn't account for the 16 offensive boards they had. I thought at least 7 or 8 times we didn't box out. Somebody came in from the weak side, we didn't hit them, and they got an extra possession out of it. And when that happens, it's almost impossible to win.
George, you've seen the Warriors up close several times this year. Do you understand Steve's frustration?
Certainly, I understand Steve's frustration for the entire season, to be honest with you. But in this particular case, I think he's right. And I think that this is part of a byproduct that we're seeing of teams wanting to increase their pace, Rachel, because the details, right, aren't necessarily there because everyone's like, I got to get out to my spot on offense. And it's like, oh, hey, wait, we got to secure the ball first, right? That plays into this particular situation. I would say this. Look, I covered for a long time those LeBron, Wade, Bosh teams who were undersized as well. Not comparing them to this Warriors team, but as far as a size is concerned, they didn't have as much. They don't have very much size, just like this team doesn't. And they were told, hey, look, you guards, you forwards, everybody's got to go and rebound, and everybody's got to do the little things. And I think that with this particular Warriors team or any team that's undersized, that needs to be a point of emphasis.
I've been hoping for 3 years someone would bring this up. Because here's the thing about defensive boxing out. If you do it properly, it doesn't matter what size you are. The ball goes up, you turn, you make contact with your player, either with your arm or preferably with your rear end, and you take them off the glass. You can be 6'2" and do that to a 7-footer if you do it properly. Bam Adebayo is a good example of someone that boxes out. The Lopez brothers are good. You know, some of the bigs are good. Taj Gibson, who's not a huge guy, is a great guy at boxing out. But my goodness, everybody else turns and says, I'm athletic now. I can outjump everybody. Let me grab this ball. Not so much. I'm so glad Steve Kerr said this. This drives me crazy. It really does.
Steve is there to answer all of your basketball fundamental needs, Jackie.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely. Certainly this season with the way his Warriors are playing. All right, guys, everyone stick with us. We're going to discuss coming up if the Celtics are still playing with the same sense of urgency this season as they have in previous seasons. First, though, time for our distant replay. This date, 2006. We miss you, Kobe.
A one-point game. Walton could tip it. Bryant with the save. Oh, you're going to get a shot here. Final second.
2 points last night on the Pacers. He also dished out 10 assists. Jackie, what are you more impressed with at this point, the points or the dimes?
It's definitely the dimes for me, Rachel. I know that Kevin Garnett can score from anywhere, but when
Kevin
he gets
Durant,
other people to score from anywhere, I'm happy. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. It shows that the others are doing their job as well, which I think is very important for this team.
And certainly what we're looking for with these guys is not are Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden going to play well together, because we know how they play basketball, but have there been enough games for the other guys on the team to know what it's like to play with Kevin Durant? And the answer last night was, why, yes, they do. They're good there. Welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols alongside my co-pilot here today, NBA reporter, ESPN LA radio host, the man does it all, George Sedano, and of course the Hall of Famer over there on the other side of your screen, Jackie McMullen. Malika Andrews is going to stop by later to talk more Nets. Coming up, we're also going to discuss the Celtics. Are they playing with enough urgency as the regular season winds down? Stick around for that. First, though, we start with some breaking news. LeBron James has been upgraded from out to questionable for tonight against the Kings, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. LeBron has been out since March 20th with a high ankle sprain that is the longest absence of his career. And look who's coming to join us on the show. Welcome back, Adrian. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you, thank you. How likely do you think it is that we will actually see LeBron on the court tonight?
Yeah, there's a real chance, Rachel. LeBron James is going to test that ankle prior to tonight's game against the Kings in L.A. And I think he feels a real sense of urgency here. The Lakers have lost 4 or 5 games. Certainly they're in 5th place in the Western Conference. But he's going to go out tonight, test that ankle, see if he can give it a go against the Kings. If not tonight, however, you can expect he'll be back on Sunday against Toronto.
This is such an interesting question for the Lakers, for LeBron himself. We've seen teams with Pat, right, like the Nets, who are doing well in their conference. They're doing okay because they've got 3 superstars. They have given their stars longer to rest and recuperate after injuries. You mentioned the urgency there with LeBron and the Lakers. How do you feel that battle is going between making sure that it's just absolutely buttoned up, safe, that he will be back and healthy for the playoffs versus having to get yourself in good playoff position before the regular season even stops?
Yeah, Rachel, listen, we're in the window here where LeBron James was planning to return. It was going to be a matter of which game it was going to be. But I think the fact that the team has struggled lately, certainly, listen, of course he wants to play, and he has been out. This is the longest stretch of his career. But I'm told, listen, the one thing he wants to make sure doesn't happen, and certainly the Lakers do, is that there's not a re-aggravation of that high ankle sprain, that this is not something that is going to linger, and then, all of a sudden you have another injury, have something closer to the playoffs. But I think he's going to, again, test it out tonight, see how he feels. He's been very close, but, tonight's game against the Kings could here mark his return to this Laker lineup.
So interesting, and really a question for everyone around the league with this condensed schedule. Guys who are coming back all of a sudden are coming back to a train going full speed ahead, and we'll see how LeBron does with it. Woj, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you later on. All right, now let's discuss another setback for Giannis and the Bucks. Just 46 seconds into last night's game, another injury. This time it was Giannis rolling what was already an injured ankle. He limped to the locker room before returning to the bench. Here's Coach Mike Budenholzer.
Just a sprain. I think we're hopeful that it's not serious. We'll see how he responds to treatment tonight, treatment tomorrow. Get an update at some point tomorrow. But I think we're hopeful that it's, obviously he couldn't play or finish, not something significant or serious.
So, Jackie, this is kind of a continuation of the conversation I was just having with Woj, right? Someone has something a little bit wrong with them. They think they can go, and then all of a sudden they hurt themselves again. Giannis came into that game last night, probable, already nursing a right ankle sprain. How concerning are these injuries to you?
Everything's concerning to me in this weird season, Rachel, because we already know the players are mentally exhausted, and I think there's evidence all over the place that they're now becoming physically exhausted. If I'm the Bucks, I'm going to exercise all sorts of caution here going forward with Giannis. Even if he tells me he's fine, I'm adding 2 more games, then I'm going to keep him out. They have 10 games left. They're not going to catch Brooklyn for the East crown. I don't think they're in a lot of danger of slipping below New York to the 4th spot. I'm not sure I would play Giannis at all the rest of the way, and I understand the danger of that because you want to have your team in sync and in rhythm as you get into the postseason. But Giannis, an unhealthy Giannis, forget about it for the Bucks. So I'm exercising all sorts of caution going forward here.
Rachel, if we were playing something, nothing, or everything, I would go something here, certainly, because there is a level of concern because the biggest predictor of future injury is past injury. And not only is he nursing an ankle injury with his right leg from just a few weeks ago, but let's not forget the bubble, right? And how that transpired. This has been something that has been plaguing him for a while, right? So I do think that that needs to be something that is highlighted here in this situation. And it's so close to the playoffs starting. They're not going to be in the play-in situation, but obviously, so in 3 weeks, the playoffs start, the real playoffs start, right? Beyond the play-in. And that's just not a lot of time when you're nursing an injury like this that continues to hamper him.
And I know people have made a lot over the last couple seasons that the Bucks have lost, I believe, their first playoff game both years, the last 2 years, to a number 8 seed. And, oh, gee, what's wrong with them? And this year they better go into the playoffs more ready. Guess what? They won both of those series very handily. So even if, Jackie, as you say, Giannis doesn't come back until the playoffs, even if they lose that first game, we have been shown that they have the ability to pull the series out without much effort. And look, it's not just re-injuring. We saw with Jamal Murray the other night, right? He had an injury on one side of his lower body, came back maybe a little early, right? He said he really was just so eager to play. He had to get back in there because we know Jamal and how competitive he is. And then, of course, compensation injury, it seems like, on the other side. So whether it's Giannis, whether it's LeBron, it's a lot that these superstars and their teams are balancing since, as you note, that's the whole ball game. If LeBron or Giannis is hurt for most of the playoffs, that is the end of the road for both of those teams. I want to move on to the Wolves. They beat the Warriors last night. Bryant for the win.
Yeah.
Does that
So
sentence
awesome.
again?
Still get chills watching
Right?
that. Here
Never
comes
get tired of
the ripping
seeing
of the
that
jersey
one.
to the heart.
Yep.
We got that yet?
At the buzzer in overtime.
The fist,
Gets the win for Los
and then the
Angeles.
jersey. Oh, there we go.